Mama never say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo.
Farm says good morning. Nanado has surrounded himself with people who make him happy. Not those who tell him the reality. Nanado government will never take any responsibility on anything that is confronting us as a country, and the so-called elders in the country are all quiet. Allah save Mother Ghana from the hands of this old man. There's Dev Akule who says, Senna, it's obvious Solomon seems to communicate well in support of Alan, yet forget to add that he, Alan, is equally part of the mess we found ourselves. Let Solomon understand, whoever the NPP brings on board does not and will never match the indefatigable visionary John Dramani Mahama come 2024. The NPP will be flawed in a disgraceful manner. That's from him. This one says, good morning. It's about time we start understanding NPP. In fact, the most patriotic political party among Ghanaian political parties. Reading good policies they cannot implement. Perfect in lies, disguised in patriotism, presenting businessmen in the name of leaders, and totally incompetent. That's vision from Tamale Central. There's also John in Accra. True. Do you remember that Dr. Baumia did not utter a word during our struggle for not imposing the Momo tax, even though he said users should not be taxed in an earlier interview? That's John from Accra. There's Mensah as in Spintesh Road who says, please tell Sulu that Mahama never created Dumso, but he came to fix it. Because Akuffo asked the clergy to go and pray over the dam and couldn't solve it. That's Mensah saying that from Spintesh. There's also this one. Joe Frank from Afienya says, good morning. Senna, tell Honorable Phyllis to open more fire. There's also Babu Kumasi who says, okay, hey, you are Bafo Boni aka Babu Kumasi. It's taking up the name of my lead boss. Says, I love this program. I've listened to Mr. Pratt for a long time, and he's always factual and deals with issues without being personal and says it as it is. We should take a cue from him if we are to develop and go forward. Anyway, I like his haircut. He's looking handsome. Somebody has already spotted Mr. Pratt's haircut. Well, let me do a few more here. And this is Tafai Namra here, who is also joining us. Says, and I sincerely believe Dr. Anani is not happy with Honorable Alan. People's message, Adro Miso. I personally agree with Dr. Anani that the message is not a message any serious politician must use in his campaigning. So, and I am also happy NDC did well in all Muslim communities in Kumo, even the Vice President campaigned in those communities, but Muslims rejected him. Okay, this one is from Oscar, who says, please tell Honorable Fosu Kwachi that bravo. There's this one from Papa Bisio, who says, even though it's going to be boot for boot generally in 2024 general election, the Ashanti region must seriously be on our radar to seal all loopholes over there. The Kumuru result is indicating some folks in Ashanti region are gradually changing their minds to vote for NDC. JM is winning 2024 general election by the grace of God. That's Papa Bishu who sent that. Komla Genya says the private companies which accepted to be labeled one district, one factory should bear in mind that when there's a change in government, their so-called factories will be taken over. This one is from Charles Cardinal Pokwasi, who says the CJ nominee was disappointing on the question of birth certificates, so he has an issue with that. He says, first, the birth certificate is prime document that determines the person's birthplace and ancestry. That really tells where a person comes from. For God's sake, that's the definition of a person's lineage. What else do they want to see? Can the CJ nominee show us what he uses to determine her citizenship over the years? That's coming from Charles Cardinal Pokwasi. And let me conclude with Justice Konyo, who says none of the persons contesting the flag bearership of the NPP can escape the wrath of the people at the polls. The performance of the NPP government is the lowest in history. Every center of the governance of this country is struggling. Education, economy, and general governance is poor and must be shown the exit. Justice Bonyo sent that from Ayawaso West Wagon. Before I go to Dzifa, let me remind you that you are live on the mother of all talk shows, Alaji and Alaji. We are live on Pan-African television from the studios and also live on radio Gold. Dzifa.
Thank you very much and good morning to you all. I was enjoying when my senior brother here, Felix, was, giving all the punchlines, because in actual sense, that is what I even wanted to follow. You know, when I heard, and my brother is here, I think somewhere last year when we knew that okay, Alan was coming up, he resigned and everything, and I saw one walk they did, and there was a very big billboard, and they had written Edruso. It was funny. It's very interesting, Edruso. But quickly, as a young lady, I just remembered Akuffo Addo's son, because the same thing was there. And let's not forget that one of NPPs, or let me say their major talent is sloganeering. Trust them on that. On any day, I'm willing to defend the NPP. That sloganeering seems to be their, collective talent. Unless we do not say that we are, taking up a project or going forward with something, they'll bring a very nice, sweet slogan to back it up, to make it seem as though, this is what it's supposed to be about. So when I heard Edruso, it is now my turn, and people are a little alarmed. I wonder if those people have heard, or have read our history before, or were there when Akuffo Addo started, eyeing the seats for presidency. At the time, that was said because apparently there were some candidates, particularly Alan Kojo, who had come from UK, they say, and just wanted to come and overtake, the queue. And so they are indicating that Akuffo Addo, he is the one we know, and not Alan Chemanting. There were times that you see prominent and stakeholders in the NPP will say that, oh, let's allow this man to go because he has been with us and it's his turn. At the time, they also said Edruso, but it wasn't the major slogan. It's his turn, Menenko. So I knew, and everybody who is in the NPP has always known that the structure was that when Akuffo Addo leaves, but Alan Chemanting will be coming, because that was how they structured everything after he lost. So you realize that is the orientation and foundation of NPP. Forming a queue. It has never been about competence. It has never been about what the person has to offer. It is about forming a queue. And that it sort of inspires some level of entitlement. Because why will a knowledgeable candidate say Edruso? And so what? So Ghana seems to be like a kingdom or your territory where there is a queue of succession. And so this is done. I'm reminding everybody, please, for me, queue, so let me come. Because indeed, when you go around in Ghana, in Accra especially, most billboards, that is what they have on it. And Solo will not deny it here, that they've never used Edruso. But why will anyone of reason and sense, and when I'm not even talking about the candidate himself, I'm even talking about the team around him who are responsible for advice and say Edruso. But that should only inform people that it is their orientation. This is what NPP sees Ghana for. NPP sees the country as their property that they have strategically planned. Several ways of succession, to cover. There is this document that they did. I'm sure my big brother here will remind me of the name of the document. It was about succession. A very long plan from when they came to power till years after. I forgot the name. That document is out for a lot of people to see the plan that they had ahead. So it has never been the interest of Ghana. It is about them. Because after all, when you see how Akuffo Addo even managed his government, I'm saying managed because he's almost out. You realize that it is about his family. It has always been about succession. And when you have a monarchical state and it's always about succession, you have that sense of entitlement that it is my turn, it is mine, and I have to fight for it, or people owe it to me. And that is what is happening. Now you have Richard Anani coming to explain later that, I am not for Baumia, and I am friends with Alan Chemanting. I've been friends with him for long. So what motivated that anyway? What was the need for that explanation? What motivated that comment? What was he expecting out of that comment that he gave? You see, there are intentions behind that, and I do not blame anyone for it. I blame the NPP's orientation and structure itself. That is what has caused all these problems. If you ask me, this year ni mufitete ye edru so just tells you how NPP think. That is how low it has become. Bra, never succeed. So Alan Tremantin is coming and he's not even thinking of how to convince Ghanaians of what he's capable of offering. How to convince Ghanaians of what he has done as a trade minister. Rather, he has kept his cool, tried not to meddle too much, even though, of course, I agree that he is also equally at fault in the corner, just because he doesn't want to tarnish his image. And all of a sudden, he comes up, instead of him, giving us a list of things that he's quite good at, or things that he's going to change, or he's reminding Ghanaians to say, Edru, so Papa dear, is it for your father? Is it for your family? Is this how you handle it? When I hear this, then I just wonder what at all you expect from such a man. But let's not also forget the fact that what was just mentioned earlier about Bawumia trying to exclude or excuse himself from all this brouhaha tells you the negative implications of their intentions towards Ghana. So you come and give a lot of lectures in 2016, do this voodoo economics and these lectures and political displays about how easy and strategic managing the country is. Give several lectures. Who didn't know about his town hall lectures? And he sits there and they call him Bawumia the economic wizard. And people are clapping because apparently he has made everything so simple. And all of a sudden you come to power and then there's nothing you can do. Let's not forget that he has a very, very good working relationship with his boss, Akuffo Addo. He is enjoying power. He's okay. It is not as if he doesn't have the power or the space to work. If he was at loggerheads or there was any sort of tension, you can convince me that apparently he wants to do something, but he's not being given the opportunity. But on the contrary, he has a very good working relationship with them. He has all the power. He is controlling all the things that are supposed to be controlled. And yet, he has been able to do nothing. He is just in hiding. All of a sudden, the wizard has lost his powers. All of a sudden, the economic wizard has lost his powers. This is somebody who has the effrontery to say, I'm contesting an election. That is Mahmoud Bawumia, Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia for you. The effrontery to say, I'm contesting the election. And these two heads, major two heads, we all know that it's between these two, are clashing heads in trying to get the flag bearership of NPP. There is no shame anywhere. They have offered nothing. Everything that used to be 1 cedi is now 5 cedis. Everything has increased, and I wonder what their message is going to be. But of course, I do not doubt them. You see, I am a politician, so I know that their hopes are never in convincing Ghanaians. Their hopes is never in, trying to change the nature of things in Ghana for the better. Their hopes is thievery, stealing. That is where their strength always lies. So whatever we say is nonsense to them. And so they are just looking forward of how to manage their own assets. And this is what Bawumia and Akuffo Addo is giving. Bawumia and Alan Tremantin is going to give you. Alan has found a very nice way to just be in his corner. And you find people saying on Pekasa, he doesn't talk. He's a man of himself. They never even gave him the opportunity. He had every opportunity. What is more important in the country than its trade and industry? And he was the trades and industry minister. And what do you have to show for it? Today we'll be waiting for Solo to give us just about 5 to 10 major industries or trade projects that Alan Tremantin has brought up himself and finished. None. Not even one. And he's telling us that, he wasn't part of it. So he is the new face, because that is what they say. They say that Bawumia has dirtied and muddied the water so much for himself that he's not a suitable candidate. And so this is how they are trying to sell him. Edruso. This is it. This is all the NPP is about. So, Senna, it's unfortunate. I feel so bad. And I remember when my chairman, General Sedun Ketia, mentioned that, in 2012, that the NPP was contesting, 17 thieves were contesting an election where one chief thief is going to be elected. Eventually, as the flag bearer of NPP, and this is a similar case. In this case, they are not up to 17, they are close to 10. But yes, 10 thieves are going into an election where we are going to, get one chief thief as the victor. Because I do not see Alan Kojo different from Baumia or Efiya Kuto or Kennedy Japan. I do not see any of them being different. They know what they are about. They have the same goal, they only do it differently. And so it's quite pathetic. But there is one little message that I brought on set today that really bothers me. And I just have to be frank. It's about how we, the citizens, the voters, and the delegates handle certain things. It looks like our integrity is also supposed to be questionable. We joke with little things and then we just allow it to go. I remember there was a story, I think Adolf Hitler had this demonstration of the story of the fowl, chicken, where he was with his generals and he picked one chicken that was walking around and defeathered it, left it, and then it was all bloodied. You've caused excruciating pain for this chicken, only to throw some grains to the chicken just moments later, and the chicken starts crawling back and pick on the grains and actually following this man. It tells you that sometimes we allow ourselves to be hurt so much, and just when we are being told some sweet stories or sugar-coated stuff or being given breadcrumbs, we just run back. And this is the story of the Ghanaian voter. This is the story of the Ghanaian delegates especially. And I think it needs to change. Whilst we sit back and pour our hearts out as to how our leaders are not handling things, let us hold and stand on our integrity for once. Can't we just trust in our decisions? This is a charge that I'm really giving out to people. For once, when you are given the blame, also take the responsibility. Do your part. Because when we end up voting these criminals, these liars into power, we don't turn around and start complaining, because it's easy to complain. Why don't we also take our part? So Richard Avani's case, it's not something that is even worth defending. And he had a motive behind it, unlike what our friend here was saying, that it didn't mean anything. No, he had a motive. Who sent him? What was necessary about that comment anyway? So why does he now come to explain that no, he's not supporting this and that is that? Who sent him at all? That has been there since inception. It's even happened with Akuffo. Thinking that when they do this, not thinking about competency. This is the foundation of the NPP. Let's not be swayed. That is all they have. It's a succession plan. They come in with their family and friends, come and loot and share, and then look up to the next person who is coming and see if they are aligned towards it. All these struggle of power that they are doing, all these things that they are doing. So not defending Alan Chairman here like nothing has happened before. I mean, trying to align himself with his personal will so that he can be sorted out very well when they come to power. Let's be sincere. It's NPP, like I say, Busuan and joining, and that is what you guys are doing. So it's not something that is worth defending or talking about. Just like my big brother here said, we don't talk about it so much because that is all they're about. I don't know why people are surprised, but when you meet any Alan Chairman or Baumia person out there who tells you do yes so, and if you as for Baumia, they don't say or whatever it is. That's also Papa dear. You ask the person, is it for your family? Is it for your father? That is the question you're supposed to ask. This is supposed to be a democracy. Allow the person who can work come and work. But indeed, you guys don't have any candidates.
Really?
So no, you guys don't have any candidates. Any credible person who can say they have actually done something now and they have more to offer. If you have more to offer, we should see it in the little that we have. Right. The tree will tell you that that means we have to even see the little you have to give before we can entrust you with a bigger one. And that is something we haven't seen in NPP. We haven't seen in Alan Kojo Shomanting. As for Baumia, a total failure. All his principles and his lectures have now sunk into the deep seas. We can't even find them again. Unfortunately, the internet never forgets. I hear from a very reliable source, one of his close acquaintances, that when he's around and he's listening to radio or TV and they play some of his old videos, his mood just swings because it reminds him of the liar that he is. And he's not comfortable with people seeing that expression from him. This is a man who says he wants to come and lead the NPP in Ghana. And it's a funny situation for me. Now, I'm going to the picking of forms. Yesterday, I heard that there were some group of people called Friends of Bawumia who stormed the party headquarters with cash, trying to go and buy forms. Of course, they were turned down because we're not buying the forms with cash anyway. I don't even know why they made that mistake, because they're supposed to know. And I heard the scenery was, all about power and money. They were flaunting money. Not to talk about the videos that were released recently with pickups being, conveyed to a certain central point. Bawumia pickups. Money is being flaunted in the face of IMF. We just went to IMF. Money is being flaunted in the face of poverty, in the face of failed promises. Money is being flaunted in the face of failed economic strategy. So whilst we are suffering, this vice president, who now wants to contest for flag bearership and later on president of Ghana, is flaunting in our faces the money he has hoarded with his family and his friends. Such disrespect. Sometimes some of us are a little, I won't say shallow, we do not think further to even see that some of the actions of these leaders are insults to us and our families, our livelihoods. Flaunting money in the face of IMF. IMF that Bawumia spoke so passionately about in 2016. It was, in fact, Gabriel Chwedaku Bawumia, Asante Bedietuo, speaking as though it was the worst thing that could ever happen. You get Eslawutu telling you that if it's only borrowing an IMF, her 5-year-old son can also manage the country. That is what Eslawutu say. The same thing that Gabriel Chwedaku said recently. And of course, his videos are all over. This is what they tell you. And Bawumia is flaunting capital and resources, financial resources, in our face. As if Ghana isn't suffering. As if Ghana hasn't lost anything. Sena, it is bad. The fact that he doesn't even respect the people of Ghana. And that is the implication. Because there are companies out there that don't even have vehicles to convey their stuff. There are SOEs that are struggling and are sinking by the day. There are companies, SOEs, that are on the verge of being closed and collapsed because government cannot support them any longer and they are losing so much money. There are SOEs like that. There are several projects that are on hold, that are not being completed. Several projects that Mahama has invested in. And you get people like Bawumia flaunting cash and financial resources in our faces because he is the wise one and we are fools. He has finally made money and he's trying to push it into his campaign to make more money of us. A country that is so much into debt, a country that is going to suffer as to China now getting control of our mineral resources. He's flaunting all those on us. So, we are not in the same ship. If people think, Bawumia will stand anywhere, or Akuffo Addo will say, I understand you're suffering, but we're working towards it, We are not in the same ship. Never. Even if we are in the same ship, it's probably like the Atlantic, where we have the VVVIP class, and we have those who work in the coals down there. Probably that's where we are, and they are there. So it might be in the same country, but two different situations altogether. And they would never see it. So I would charge delegates and voters again. Especially start from delegates, because they're also voters anyway. I'll charge them again that please stand with integrity. Make your decisions based on integrity. It is not always about the 100 cities, 200 cities, 500 cities that are being given to you. I'm talking about this so much because the recent election that went on in Kumewu was a typical example, and I would have an opportunity to talk about that. The recent election where people were sharing rice, 2 guinea rice, grains, beans, cloth, monies, votes buying going on. I mean, in 2 weeks, we saw I don't know whether it was even a dream, roads that were tarred overnight just to impress the people of Kumewu. And you find people actually commending that. What stopped you from doing it 6 years ago? What stopped you from doing it 4 years ago? You said year of roads. What stopped you from doing it when you said you would do it? And all of a sudden, there is a funeral or there is a by-election and you are doing it. And let's not even forget the fact that that road has actually been halted after the elections. I hear works have stopped on that road. Says me, and I can even give you evidence on the internet. Okay, so Senna, you realize that we have a charge to keep, and I just have to be sincere as a politician and as a citizen myself, that sometimes when we are accusing people, you understand, when we are demanding things, we should also accept responsibility of our actions, and this is the action of Ghanaians. It's unfortunate that Richard Anani thinks that he can play with the minds of Ghanaians, but he has just, brought up a case from the past that we know to be the nature of NPP. We won't waste our time talking about it. That is how they are. I only mentioned it because I want people to realize and really understand that that is who they are. They feel entitled and they feel like this seat is theirs to keep for the rest of their lives. Handle it anyway, and they do not want to be criticized in any way. That is what the NPP is. That is the only thing they will give. And for somebody who has a sense of entitlement, he feels he owes no one any explanations. He's not accountable to anyone. After all, we're here and the COVID-19 funds have still not been accounted for. One of our biggest worries about accountability. So who are they accountable to? After all, they'll find ways to maneuver. If the NPP had it in their own way, this would be an autocratic system. Because they hate democracy. They are not able to manage it. It doesn't make them feel free. That is Solomon's boss for you, Alan Sherman. And Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, or the economic wizard that they say. Solo, you have to relay a message to your boss later. All right. We'll discuss that. That's but it's unfortunate. Yeah, Senna, they have nothing to give us. Okay. And I'll just leave it here and say that let people just look at them and see them for who they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dzifa.
Whenever I say PENDREAM TV, PENDREAM TV, there, I see them,